consultants, but of course they're in Knoxville and they've completed the project. So just a little bit of a background. Weaver Pike is also State Route 358, and so a couple of years ago, I learned of a grant through TDOT called the Urban Transportation Planning Grant, or Rural Transportation Planning Grant. And this section of the corridor of Weaver Pike is both. And so we applied for the grant with County Commission full support, and it was a 10%, 90%, so the county chipped in 10% of this grant cost, and then TDOT hires the consultant, so we didn't have to tie up our purchasing agent, and they did all of that paperwork. We basically just got to listen and learn, so those are the best kind of grants. TDOT hired CDM Smith out of Knoxville, and they had a full team of planners and transportation engineers. So we really enjoyed working with them. The scope of the project is from the city limits of Bristol at the intersection of Old Jonesboro Road to the river. And part of the reason why I think we got the grant was the new school. And that added use of Weaver Pike with more buses and coordinating schedules and more parents, and just to accommodate the through traffic of folks who live and work. So we were really lucky to get the grant. We actually fall under, even though this is all Sullivan County's jurisdiction, and but we fell under the Bristol MPO, which is the Metropolitan Transportation Planning Organization, with which we have a seat at that table. The MPO, they help with transportation planning outside the city limits of Bristol. It takes in Sullivan County, Bristol, Tennessee, Bristol, Virginia, Abingdon, and parts of Washington County. So we're part of that funding and planning source. So they endorse the project as well as TDOT. So that's a little bit of the background. What we have a lot of information, but I think we'll just highlight around the schools, because I know you all are busy. One of the things, just as a planner, I'm not an engineer by no stretch, but serving on the MPO boards, I've learned a few things about access control, safety, signage, things that help the motorist and the driver better navigate the road. I'm a mom of East High School kids, and my daughter graduated there, and my son's a senior. I don't travel it as much now that he's driving, but that's another reason why it concerns me. We've got lots of student drivers, athletes, shared facilities, and just a lot going on in that expanded campus. So the consultants, their job was to not do full-scale engineering, but they really, the appendices and the book itself that I emailed you, they really got into all the information on design, horizontal curves, which is this way, and vertical curves when you're driving, sight distance, how they can improve TDOT. Now, keep in mind this is TDOT road. We're not asking Highway Department to do anything. Better striping. You all have been on rural roads where you can't see the center line or the white line anymore because it's just gone. The new federal highway regulations is to have the paint that is reflective, and there's different ways of handling that. So this is just one example. So obviously you're aware this is the new middle school, and if you remember, we added a turn lane into it, right? But when my son went here, just for a few months, and then it was COVID, but it was enough to experience, it's very difficult, and I think every principal is out there, coach, everyone's directing traffic, drop off and pick up. And then if you are trying to go back towards the river, if you live that way, you can't, you've got to do this and make a U-turn. So there are things that they're proposing to improve that. a longer queue in the turn lane and another turn lane in the opposite direction. So that would help. We have so many boards. Okay, this is going towards Silver Grove Road, so East High's back here. This particular business owner, he put up barricades because people were turning around in his parking lot at Old Silver Grove. So there's a lot of issues like that. This is their PowerPoint, so you can, I'm not following along, obviously, because we're focusing on the schools, but you can have that for future reference. The thing that we thought was exciting to us was their, we can start with that. Their approach to connectivity between the schools, and with a shared use path. Now, shared use path in TDOT language means you can bike and walk, non-motorized. So it's not a concrete sidewalk, it's an asphalt 8-foot lane, and it's segregated from the right-of-way. And, yeah. And so this is only concept, but the idea is to have walkability between the campuses. And if that were to ever happen, obviously that would be a grant with TDOT, multimodal grant. So they did some mock-ups of what that would look like. If this is Beaver Pike, you could have, within the existing right-of-way of the state route, put in a concrete barrier, and this is what I mean by multi-use. You can walk or ride your bike, anything non-motorized. And then you have the school fence. Of course, that's beautiful light. It doesn't really reflect the county street lights, but you could do some landscaping, but then this would be Sullivan East High School campus, if that gives you a perspective. And then what that looks like is this version. So this is the planimetric version of it, and this is what it would look like, rendering. The nice thing about this design is you wouldn't have to move the fence, you wouldn't have to buy, well, you wouldn't buy a right-of-way, it's a school property, but you wouldn't have to expand the right-of-way for the shared use path. But you have an ugly barricade. The other approach, yes. Oh, yeah. Got it? Okay. What is it? Of course. We did not go to Vanna Price is Right, or what is it? School. Yeah, okay. This approach would expand the right-of-way, but you have all this landscaping separation. It could be a berm, because, this is a state route. People do travel 35, 45, 55, we don't know. But you have this. It's just a visual area, and again, it could be bermed and landscaped, but then this would require moving the fence on the other side. What it looks like is what Luke is holding up. So obviously this is existing situation. You can tell where the street light is. Here you have all, the shoulder and the landscaping, so it is more of a natural buffer. These are just recommendations. We're not asking county commission to approve one or another. They're just visual studies for future grants from TDOT or projects by the schools. And this is just one highlighted example. So I thought that was very interesting. For the rest of the corridor, they focused on the intersections. They studied the traffic count data and the accident report data over several year period. Thank you. Getting back to the campus. Thank you. Okay. I don't know where to stand and I'm not blocking you. Obviously you're familiar with Sullivan East. During peak times, games, graduation, or just every day, we've got 3 existing curb cuts, 3 entrances. This one's usually fenced, student parking, and everyone else, buses and everyone else. this design would open this up and not have it gated during school hours. This becomes one way, you know, right in, right, well, no, one way in, two way out. This approach, you know, students would have to learn, but it would alleviate and give more queue, more length of a time for folks entering and exiting at the main entrance. The alternative approach that they came up with, leave this the same, still lengthen a little bit of that turn lane, but then make this right in, and again, it would utilize the overflow parking lot for circulation. Keeping it gated off, you're really losing that ingress, egress, and it's jamming up here, so depending on which way you're going. So those were things that they came up with, two different options that would require a little bit of asphalt and striping, but that's about it. Yeah. Okay. Is that it for the schools? What we got?
I believe so.
So as I was mentioning, the for the whole corridor.
This one's the turn right on there, Pleasant Grove.
Oh yeah. You know, lots of folks who come from the Piney Flats or the other side of Bluff City, they use Pleasant Grove Road as cut through because the intersection of Weaver Pike and Silver Grove Road is a really bad visibility. I don't think they save any time, but it is better visibility for students to make this turn and come to the school than the left turn. And I've experienced, I've seen accidents as well. So because of that, all of these are chevrons and different signage. They're proposing a lot more signage to give the drivers more reaction time to know what's up. Yeah, if you live there every day, you pretty much know, but you know, we're getting a lot of folks moving here. We're getting student drivers moving up, and they're also proposing better stripage and
I know on this one, they were also talking about
yeah.
here, and I believe you all own this now, the school board does, at the corner here. There's a pump station there.
Yeah.
They're also talking about opening that mouth up a little bit more so people can pull forward and get better visibility out of there as well.
Do we have a picture of them moving the white strips?
No,
Here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of, I'm not sure if this is Old Jonesboro Road or which one.
No, that is, that's coming off of, I can't remember. It's,
Roger?
It's not here.
Oh, Kent Hook?
No, that isn't Kent Hook.
Well, anyway, regardless,
But
typical rural road intersection, the stripe is way back here because the old regulation said you had to stripe before the stop sign. That's what we've learned, right? There is no way you'll be able to see if you stopped there. So they're proposing, I guess the new recommendation from TDOT is adding the white stripe here. For short people like me, I don't even know, you know, where's the front of my car. The white stripe will tell you, okay, don't go any closer or you could get, you know, nicked by someone turning. But it definitely gives you more visibility, and I'm sorry. So that was something real quick fix that the TDOT could do, just moving the white stripes. Otherwise, you're looking at cleaning off these banks, a lot of maintenance, regrading. Oh, is this Silver Grove Road?
no, I believe it's Portraits.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, yeah, because there's a house. Okay, what else do you have?
Yeah, next is Kent Hook.
Okay. This one was of interest to us because Kent Hook Hill Road is a very substandard rural road in the county. And the city annexed a big farm right here. And they annexed off State Route 394, which you can't get a driveway connection off 394. So any development of this tract would have to come up this county rural road. And then we had a rezoning for this site a couple years ago for RV storage lot. We learned the hard way that RVs couldn't make this turn. And so the highway department, our highway department, had to do some work right here to widen that transition and make it safer for the RVs to move in. And that was a lot of back and forth. Whose jurisdiction is it? And I'm like, surely it's KDOT's. We lost that argument. So those are just lessons learned. You know, we rezone property to commercial because it's on a state highway and that's the trend. But it just depends on what the land use is going to be. And RVs need a big turnaround. And then if we have that future subdivision, it's going to add a lot of volume to that. This is what we were talking about, just restriping so you can see at night when it's raining or you're end of a ball game, you can't see the center lane. And those are just maintenance things. All of this is not to say, again, that Sullivan County would be responsible. But if we adopt these recommendations, it puts this on the kind of the front of the maintenance list for TDOT, and it helps our Region 1 office know what to do. And they were part of the planning process. They were all involved. They came to our public engagement meetings. We had an online survey that the consultants put out, and we pushed it out through the papers and Facebook. How many? I think we had like over 400 hits.
Yeah, about 450 respondents.
Respondents, actual people, taking the survey, so that was helpful. And then we had 2 outreach meetings at Sullivan East High School. Really appreciate Mr. Hare and Mr. James. They're always welcome. They stay late for us, and I really appreciate that. We had good turnout of the landowners. Luke mailed out over 200 letters directly to all the landowners to make sure that they were aware of these meetings. So that was an added cost to our department, but it was well worth the effort. What else do you want to point out?
Next week I'm going to call it. You want to go over that?
Well, no, I was just going to focus on.
Okay, and then the last one would be Paul Jonesboro.
Okay. Okay, great. This one, just driving these roads to my kids' friends. Old Jonesboro Road has issues with site visibility, not just from coming up to you're actually coming up to that approach, and you have this beautiful old growth tree there. This is another example where moving the white stripe up would tell the driver you have more room to exit and, onto Weaver Pike. But this visibility is just terrible because you have, this is from Bristol City going towards Sullivan East High School, and you've got to gun it. You just look, and then go. So they had a lot of course, narrative and study in the document. These were just the highlights for visual. So I can go on, but basically I wanted to highlight some of the recommendations around the school campuses, so you can dream a little bit on, you know, future connectivity with shared use path or redoing the entrances for more efficiency, things like that. But that would be coordination with TDOT, and I'll be glad to help in any way I can. So we wanted to share that with you all, and we hope to have this adopted by County Commission this month. I'll close it up and just close out this project. Yes.
Who will make the decision whether it's a barrier or
Oh, yeah, so all these recommendations would meet the guidelines for TDOT and Federal Highway. So if you use state funding, because TDOT hired these consultants, they knew what the parameters would be. So you could choose either way. I would think it would be up to the local government school board to decide which looks better.
you know, outside of appearance,
Yeah,
back in '67 or '68, there was a student.
yeah, you told me, yeah,
Walking to that store. So
concrete barrier.
think of barrier,
Yeah.
you know, they leave their ball games and walk.
Are you familiar with Silver Grove Road, where the Over Mountain Victory Trail starts? The highway department put the big boulders there. It's all concrete because Silver Grove Road was moved up out of the floodplain, and so the right-of-way there is huge, the county owns. So they put the boulders in for me so we could have a visual stopping, like, you don't want to hit that with your car. There's someone there fishing, you know, on the edge of the trail. And it's worked out really well. So yeah, of course the boulders are kind of rustic trail looking, so it works well, and National Park Service approved it. There are different methodologies, but on a state road, yeah, berms are nice, but you can still go sailing. And landscaping is a lot to maintain. Question is, who would maintain that? You know, horticulture class, landscaping club at East, probably not. You don't want them working that close to the road. The concrete barrier is probably the safest.
And on the flip side of that coin is also the cost analysis
Yeah.
of putting in a concrete barrier versus just having a natural barrier. And as far as we know, most data backs up that there really isn't a decrease or increase in speed. Either way, people perceive like a large land barrier pretty much the same way that they see heading towards a concrete barrier for whatever reason.
So are you still planning on some kind of, something to get students from one side of the road to the other, to the middle school?
The underpass? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the underpass, do you have the trail map where that is?
I didn't bring the one that the National Park Service.
It's right here.
Some of them wouldn't
It's
for
right here.
years since we had.
Oh,
since you-
yeah.
Since you
Yeah,
talked
so-
about
Our
it.
dream,
It's upside down.
yeah.
So you'll recognize this as if you're looking at the school west of the middle school. And right here, where you see this blue line passing underneath the road, that connects in somewhere around the church, correct?
Yeah.
So it
by
would come
Harrington
under, so if
Hollow.
you see this, this black strip right here, that is the walking path that's being outlined on this map. And it crosses over right here at the church
Mhm.
somewhere. But it would be a trail that went directly from right behind the middle school track at the head of the Over Mountain Victory Trail on that campus, go through the park and then under and up. And it goes to they're looking at putting it out of the Shell, Scotchman?
The shared use,
Yeah.
use path, yeah.
Looking at having the finishing at the Scotchman with a
Yeah.
crosswalk there as well.
So the Over Mountain Victory Trail, National Historic Trail, that corridor touches a good chunk of the East High campus behind the field house. You get a half mile on either side of the primary route to work with to get National Park Service funding for a trail. Planning, signage, development. They will only work with public properties for certification or permanent easements, you know. So like the Creeper Trail, those are permanent easements. Tweetsie Trail, those aren't National Historic Trails, but, so we've always started with public property to get the Over Mountain Trail, you know, some visual and some places to enjoy. And the Choates Ford Trail in Bluff City was a partnership between the city and the county and the National Park Service and the reenactor group, Over Mountain Victory Trail Association. This, you know, we do programming every year. Gosh, for 40 years they did it at Bluff City Middle School. Luke was there when I was doing programming there, showing my age. And of course now we have the opportunity to get all the middle schoolers. So we just hit up the 8th graders every year for the programming. And every year I think we've outdone our welcome, and every year they are looking forward to the Over Mountain Victory Trail Heritage Day on campus. And so the goal is to have, you know, a Patriot Park for them to not only commemorate the victory during the Revolutionary War and serve as an outdoor educational classroom experience, but to have a public space reminder of the history that all can enjoy. The underpass, it's bike tunnel, underpass, those things, because this is a state route, we would be eligible for grant money with TDOT as well. And that, right now, that's a 5% match, the multimodal. So we're working with that for Blancville, in the historic district. That only was about $49,000. The county commission authorizing for $1 million grant. Yeah. So there are possibilities. We like to dream because we're planners, but the nice thing is we now have real data, findings, recommendations. You know, the good thing about these planning grants is you really set yourself up to be competitive to be awarded future construction grants. So, we're done, thank you. Yeah, we were surprised by all the visual aids the consultants gave us, but said, can I have your foam core boards as well, please? We recycle everything in our office. So. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Just keep encouraging me, I guess. Yeah, if we, you know, other opportunities arise, if you want to pursue anything, we'll be happy to work with your staff. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both. All right. Moving on to the next item, and I would like to say, before I fail to do this, I don't know, I'm pretty sure everyone's aware Doug Williams left, Kirsten Buttram, correct?
Correct. You got it right.
Is our new liaison, Kirsten Buttram. And Mr. Bailey joined her this evening here, my finance director, and he's here this evening as well. So thank you both for being here. The next point in contract points out to submit a strategic 5-year plan in December. So I've got this as a draft, but we'll go over the high points, and I'll just add, we've worked with the Tennessee Department of Education on the TISA goals, accountability goals. We've also been working with Jamie Corwin and Julie Lange from the state on our year-to-year improvement plan that has to be submitted. And the nice thing about it is that all 3 of these documents line up together. So it's not just goals that are just on paper. This is literally the direction, the focus that we're going. Building off of the prior 5-year plan that was in place, because there's no sense in coming here and saying, well, everything that was going on was bad or anything. We're building off of that because it was a great plan. So this has goals that meet our English reading, language arts, our math, and then another part of that first goal is the more of a college and career readiness goal that touches on ACT graduation rate, the Ready Graduate rate itself, which is a combination of different EPSOs and even the ACT is in that. And then percentage of students in dual enrollment or work-based learning. So, of course, some of this is not going to really pertain to elementary. We're not talking about work-based learning or any of those college things in elementary, but it does build on what we're doing in elementary, which is essential to the success of our students in high school, is how effective we are in the elementary grades, getting that early foundation, getting the preparation so that they're reading on grade level, they're doing math at a high rigorous level, and they're going to middle school, they continue that trajectory, and at that point they start doing the career exploration, which allows them to be better prepared for having their own intentional planning for high school, which is what we want students to have. We want them, as they go to high school, leaving 8th grade, ESSA, that every student succeeds at, has in there that students will have a 6-year plan in place. That's what we're working, the trajectory is that all students will have that 6-year plan. And it's transitional, it's not set in stone, but they will have a plan in place as they start into high school so that the courses that they're taking will better prepare them for those things like the dual enrollment courses when they're entering their junior year, work-based learning their junior and senior year, and all the other offerings that if you don't really have a plan in place, you may miss out on, not getting advantage of in high school. And so a lot of this is centered around that. And then as we look at the first goal, 1A, this is going to be your English language arts goal. And I won't go over and read every piece of this. I think for the time of make sure we get through with our work session, I'd like to allow you to read through this and refer back or reply back to things that questions, if that's at pleasure of the board. I can answer any questions, or our team can. We've worked on this for more than the time that had to get acquainted first, but then we started working on it after I had a little better grasp on just being here. So the first one is all ELA, and the second part of that goal, 1B, is the math strategy. You go on over to it's on the back of the next page. That's the college and career readiness part of goal 1C. It has all the criteria that's included in that. And then points out down there are the actions and strategies. And I'll reemphasize, all of this lines up with our TISA goals as well. TISA goals have to be in place to show how you're going to spend this money to continue making progress for our students. And so there was no reason to make these two documents different. So if you looked at our TISA goals that were posted and we submitted those, they would be very similar to this as well. Goal 1D, that's on technology. Eric Maynard and his team had a great deal of influence on what we got in there for the technology usage. So I suggest everyone just look at that. We'll have to be talking about a lot of those points in the next few weeks. And then priority 2 is more from the physical side of things. And so I do have attached on the back, Mr. Hubbard took the document of the needs for the schools, and he made a short 5-year capital project plan that really hit the big projects, what we consider still the big projects. And that's on that last page. It does show an elevator at Mary Hughes, the HVAC system at Miller Perry, which was originally going to be an ESSER project, but due to days and cost, it was taken out. Indian Springs, the handicap entrance that's needed at the main entrance. Ketron, basically having a handicap entrance that would allow us to get into the gym area. There's a way to get in there right now, but that's not the best option. If everyone can go out there and look at it, it's very limited in access on that one. And then East High, the theater being remodeled there as well.
What's the status on the plans right now with the Dean West, and we're supposed to be getting the report back on Sullivan East? Those three schools, Military, Sullivan East, and Indian Springs, I think, for a long term. My concern looking at these, and this is the first time I've seen this, but my concern looking at this, $750,000 for an elevator at Mary Hughes. What's the long-term plan? Do we have one yet from Deneen? Indian Springs, $800,000 for handicap access. What's going to be the overall plan? East High School, $2 million for the theater when we're talking about doing a full project there. So I would say we need to have a master facilities plan before we take a look at these capital projects. Because you're looking at 3, 4, 5, about $7 million here, I think, in what's listed. But where does that fit in the overall master plan for the next 15, 20 years? And that's
Almost $7,850,000.
how much?
$7,850,000.
I just did it.
Almost $8 million.
Right. And the Kettering project was, that's the first time that's been mentioned, other than I heard Mr. Hubbard mention it. Today, you and I were there looking at the water leak. So, you know, that's a brand new one. I think we definitely need a master facility plan before we start doing any of these major capital projects like this. You know,
I'll contact the name and just ask what the status of that is.
we have a contract with them to do the architectural piece on Ingrid. For those 3 different projects, plus I think we added Sullivan, we got now, we bid Sullivan, gymnasium is what we were looking at there, so.
As a gym and then
And that walkway.
Yeah, cafeteria.
So who will develop the master plan after that?
Well, the Dean West is supposed to come back with what they can do for East, Middle Perry, Indian Springs, and Sullivan, and make a proposal to the board, and then the board would have to approve or decide.
That was the next phase in our plan moving forward.
And that's major, getting the whole plan together of what we're gonna do before we start, nickeling and diming together. For $750,000 for the elevator, they need an elevator, but is our master plan gonna be to totally renovate, Little Perry? And if it is, then that would be part of the master plan.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that there'd have to be a bond issue for this, because these are major expenses, and that's part of the facilities plan that was developed back in 2012, 2015. But that check one, that was brand new.
I think that's to bring it up to code, because right now there's no way out.
I know, and that's what Charlie was pointing out there. So,
I was thinking when we got a report, I think it was back when I first got on the board, it didn't have that one of the reports. I was thinking, did they not come out and give us a report of all we need to do at all the schools to get them all up to code?
Well,
All that, I was thinking we
maybe
did.
You're right.
there's an ADA compliance report that was out back in 2015, 2016. But this one at Kettering, evidently when it was renovated, it did not meet code the way Charlie explained it to me. Getting in, you can get out, but you gotta go a long way to get out, don't you say? So,
It was a tough age, a lot of things that was best out and everything. I don't think that was like this.
and I think Charlie said that if we can come out the base of the school and come out the left-hand side maybe, and, but it's gonna be major to do that. But it needs to be part of the master plan, whatever we do.
I'll give the name on the master, where some of the status of that is.
Yeah,
I apologize.
I think that, well, no, I think that's
That's in the works.
It's in the works, I think, but,
Okay.
Because we voted on
we
that,
voted,
we added it.
we voted to do it, we added Sullivan to it when we, and we had to rebid Sullivan, I believe, because I think, originally we had Middle Perry, Indian Springs, and Sullivan East, and we had to get the purchasing agent to put out bids for Sullivan Middle School, or Sullivan Elementary, because it wasn't part of the project, so, but that one might be a little slower than the others coming in. But that one was to do the gym, I think, plus enclose that walkway and the cafeteria.
You're right, some of these things are probably what she's already doing.
Right,
So, yeah.
and,
Good. But once she does that, then
the board has
accept
to,
it or?
I guess, accept it and prioritize what we now, and then it'd have to go to county commission to, talk about funding. It's several steps in the process, and it will be probably a long process, I would imagine. Now, at the Middle Perry, the HVAC, that was in the original ESSER money,
Right.
and we have no spread on it.
No, and I think that's gonna be one that we're gonna have to address as a board before too long.
Yes, sir.
It's,
Still, window units isn't right.
well, it's working currently, but it's limping a lot. And then in that second priority goal, left open the buses because we're in that process of making a determination about what the future of our transportation looks like, whether we're going to pursue purchasing buses or we're going to continue on. So that one just left for right now until the committees determine that. Salary on over there is talks about how the salary justification of moving it up to getting it to the 50,000 per starting teacher, that's going to be required of us, so we'll need to have that in place. And then,
What was that one? It says the 3 school district average. Are we talking about Kingsport, Bristol, and Sullivan County? Is that what that reference is? To increase the teacher salary schedule, including mandated base teacher salary to the level of Sullivan County 3 school district average salary schedule. I just scanned this today when it was published.
Are you under,
2B.
I'm under 2B, under salary.
next to the last page? Yeah. I think that's just a typo, because I think it should be 5. The 5 surrounding, right?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I
mean,
think that's
okay.
just a typo, that should have been a 5.
That should be, we have Kingsport, Johnson City, Bristol, Sullivan County, Washington County.
Yeah, I think that's
And
just a
it's,
typo.
I noticed a 3 in a couple places on that one, I don't know.
I'll search for that. But I'll fix that.
Under artifacts, you've got, it says 3 school districts.
Where are we on, looking under goal 1A, we're looking at, Henry data analysis, where are we on the benchmark purchase?
we'll be administering the benchmark in January. When we got the license all settled and everything, the amount of time it was gonna take to make all the copies for that many students for K through 8, or not K through 8, 3 through 8. We just determined it'd be easier just to wait and do it in January.
So we were not able to do any benchmarking during the first
Not the first
semester. And having said that, Brent, I realize that you've got teachers out there that are creating their own, so.
They are.
And I realize that.
Yes,
Also, I had a couple other questions. Goal 1A, strategy 4, looking to hire an ELA instructional coach. And then also on math, next page 3, hire an instructional coach.
Currently, we do not have an instructional coach in elementary. We do have middle, we have high school, but we do not have any support there. We were looking at adding that this year, but we'd already put out our budget, it wasn't included, so, hopefully through title, if we don't get a big reduction, that can help support that as well, but our goal is gonna be to try to work that into our budget this next
Do
year.
we have a job description for that person
Big our instructional.
We did.
for the elementary?
I believe we did, yes.
I think positions have to be approved by the board though, if we create a new position, because it's a new position. You can do that as part of the budget process, but as you look at this, you've got to look at how it's going to impact the budget for next year. Those 2 positions, I noticed in particular, and there's some other places that mentioned the budget. So, Matt, when you're going to work on the budget preparation this year, these factors will play into it as to how it comes together. I think I just saw 2 positions, there the ELA that you mentioned and the math position. But there was another one, I think, in instructional, or I think it was technology, I saw something.
I haven't been able to, I just
When I
read it
just-
once it's handed to
I
me.
just-
I didn't read it today.
I just scanned it when it popped up. under school safety, Angie, I know, Linda
It's a dream.
film, I know it's a green, if we accept that, then it becomes a budget issue also. I would recommend that we put that as part of the master facility plan too, because if you can, because once we do the master facility plan, that's what, a $2 million project for the
It's
lease.
more than that.
Three and a half.
Yeah, I know you and I talked about it,
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Okay, so I'll take that out
But I'm not saying take it out,
and
but
move it to the other.
you know, put it somewhere where it would be part of the total plan, because you don't want to start putting, materials in a school and then come in and do renovations and
Right.
destroy that part of it.
And where all is the film gonna go? I mean, every window?
So ideally, I would love to film every glass surface on the ground floor or entry level floor. And then ideally love to get inside into every glass surface, inside as well.
Is the 3.5, is that?
That's outside.
That's just outside? Outside ground level?
Ground level. It's not anything second and third stories.
That's for all the buildings though, right?
That's for every campus, every surface, every glass surface on the ground
You've been
level.
through all of them now, right?
I have been.
And
She counted
Every
every.
And
one.
measured
Well, I knew that.
every
I'm-
single
I'm-
glass surface in the county.
I'm pointing that out, that's.
Yes.
Measured every surface in the county.
Thank you.
The homework is done on that, but I think
It
it
is
needs to
done.
be part of the master.
Yeah,
because
I'll
it
move
is-
that out into the other place.
And some of those schools that's not scheduled for renovation, then we should pay some of those things in there, but.
And there could be safety grants going
Yes.
forward, we don't know. This year, we did receive a, safety grant, but part of that has gone to replace the speaker system at Sullivan East High School. And then the other bigger project,
So we've replaced, we are in the process of replacing the entire intercom system at East because it's just not good, period, inside and out. We replaced or added some horns. I don't know how, but we had classrooms at Central that couldn't hear the fire alarm or see the flasher, so we've added stuff like that. We've added changed out some fire panels that were having issues at another school. I'll have a list when we have our safety meeting of everything that we spent our funds on. But we used to have a safety grant, and that ended last year, and he came along after the shooting in Nashville and gave us money for this year, but that's scheduled to end at the end of this year, and then any safety money that we've had before, they say they're rolling into CESA, so as it stands, there's not a safety grant for next year if things go through.
So we've got what we've got, and that's pretty much.
Yeah.
anything else right now, any discussion, just take time to look it over.
As you talk about release time for teachers to collaborate and hire substitute teachers, do you consider doing some of those things during the summer, paying teachers extra instead of hiring the substitutes and having to have so many substitutes out there during the school day? I noticed it's in strategy 5 under ELA. I know it's great for the teachers to get together, but if we could pay them a stipend during the summer to do the same thing, it would be beneficial.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit about several things in the summer. The problem is that summer programming, the summer camps, has taken out June. And
to that, Education Savings Act of the voucher program, has a resolution. There was some talk with the other superintendents about drafting a joint one, and that we have a meeting next week, but that was before this came out. This just came to us today from TSBA. But if there's interest in that, Christie can take that document and make it more our own. It's just determining whether that's something the board wants to create a resolution about. Any conversation?
I don't think we do.
Greenville passed it last night, didn't it?
Yes, yes, Greenville, and that's the one that, some of the others in our region were saying, you know, we can get with Steve Starnes and get a copy of it. And then this came out from TSBA today, so, I think in some areas, the county commission and the school board have gone together and said, let's do a joint resolution that shows that. So I don't know if that's anything we wanna, consider, but, I just think the more we can show a unified stance that that's not of interest for us, then, speak to our legislators, obviously, but, if that's something that everyone's in favor of, I can get Christie to fix that up and we would have it ready for January. Okay? All right.
Say, board action, right?
Unless,
Yeah.
We've been proposing it or bringing it next month. Is that all right?
that's fine. Is that not too late?
They beat Cameron, when it started?
It's not completed for us. If we wanted to vote on it, we wouldn't have the documents waiting to do.
Right. Well, I'm good. I want to make sure everybody's on page with what I'm saying.
How is that supposed to be funded?
Well, it's not supposed to impact the TISA fund. So it would be just, if your student chooses, then it would go there. That was what's been said, but it can't.
Yeah, but isn't the
it can't.
proposal that it's only eligible the first go around for 300% of poverty level or a disability, but then it goes universal, like self-executing the very next year? So, I mean, it's really universal
Universal.
voucher.
Correct. Right, $7,000.
Yeah, I'm all for it passing
Just
as fast
resolution.
as we can.
Okay.
I've always been very opposed to that for years.
And our senator said that it's a different pot of money, that it's coming from, not from TISA funds. Maybe we can take that different pot of money and put it for school safety and,
That'd be awesome.
you know, if there's a different pot of money at the state that's available
Right.
for this, then why can't that different pot of money be used for other things that there's a real need for here locally in every school system?
I have that prepared and have it ready to vote on in January. Next, I believe, Mr. Iverson, you were going to discuss the state retirement system with our board members.
I received an email, just to get everybody caught up on what we did, at last month's county commission meeting, we're back up a step. Chattanooga, a few weeks ago, there was a county commissioners meeting, and Ready Retire Group came and they gave a briefing, basically said that a third of the state county commissions are now in TCRS, and said this is something that they're making sure their ones aware of. So we ran it this past meeting at the county commission, and it passed. So as of now, everyone in the county, as far as county school system and county commission, is eligible to be part of TCRS retirement system. So everyone needs to, at some point, we'll have to get a list for us to have here and either opt in or opt out of that coverage. they say they highly recommend people that are already on TCRS retirement opt out because it won't mess up their retirement. It pauses it while you're a commissioner, while you're on the board. Everyone else that wants to opt in can opt in as January 17th is the starting date of that. They have a available option, it's a second resolution that may be ran through the county to say if you want to go back in time, and they said that that can go back in time as much as 10 years because that's when the rest of the county was eligible for TCRS. So if they choose to do that, it's $590 to run this actuary study. If they run the actuary study, it's $590 to the county commission. It covers the entire group, both groups. If they come back at that point and say, this is how much it would be, just as an example, they'd say, okay, Paul Robinson, this is how much you would be because your time is different than Matthew Spivey, and this is how much your time would be. And if they come back with the actuary study, it's a portion that each individual will have to pay and each system will have to pay if it's chosen to be done that way. So it takes a third resolution. So we're way before that's happening. But as of right now, everyone needs to either opt in or opt out. And it started November 17th. So, and they highly recommended the ones that are still not wanting this actually opt out. So that there's no.
Are you saying each person opts in or opts out?
Yes.
And so, who do you tell that to?
That'll go back to our payroll, and what, basically, we're gonna have a list. We need to have a list, and I'll tell you what it actually says. So, the county should poll the existing county board commission members to see if anyone wants to join TCRS effective 11/16/2023. These board members would have optional membership. The county may enroll them in TCRS under the /251 retirement as full-time board members with 1 credit each month at the board meeting salary. If they opt in, the record of who opts in and opts out should be kept for your own use. So I'll send this to Chuck so he has that and we can figure out what to do as far as a form, if we're gonna have some sort of form. The main thing is that payroll needs to know if we're gonna opt in because it will take a reduction from our pay, but everyone else needs to be on the opt in or opt out.
Then everyone will be responsible to pay their portion of the back contributions.
If it gets to that, yes.
What do you mean if it gets to that?
So this month, later this month, they'll be looking at the county commission to do an actuary study. The actuary study has to happen, and it'll come back and it'll say an exact number for Michael Hughes with how much you would have to be. But there's also a cost to the county. So the third resolution is the county needs to look at that and say, is this something we can afford? Is it something that we want to do because there will be a cost to the county and the school board, the systems. So they'll have to look back and say, at this much money, and whatever that dollar figure is, they'll say it will cost this much money to do that. And the commission will have to decide if it's willing to spend that money.
Are you saying they're going to decide whether they pay the back contributions for each person or pay their portion or both? Or?
Without the county commission saying that we will allow the going back in time, it can't happen. So if they say allow going back in time, then that actually goes, if it goes back 10 years, it's every board member for the last 10 years, every commissioner for the last 10 years, and you have to get 5 years to be vested. So this is down the road. So it'll probably be January, February before we know if that part's going to happen.
But you'd have to opt in before that.
Yeah, we all need to do the opt-in now because it goes back to November 16th now.
So roughly everybody, if they paid their own part, they paid 5%
Yes.
of
our board pay.
But then the county has to pay their percentage of that, is that correct?
Yes.
Can the resolution call for the individual to pay that if the county shows not to?
From what he told me just a little while ago, I kind of believe that that's an option. But the county has to allow, without the county commission saying we will allow to go back in time, then no, it cannot happen. If they say we'll allow to go back in time, then I don't think there's an option to say that we'll allow to go back in time. The county commissions or the school boards are not going to pay that portion. So the employer portion has to be paid. So I don't think there's an option of any other way around that. But again, I don't even know if the actuary study, mean, it's $590. I would imagine that part will probably happen, but I can't guarantee that either.
Who all is a member of TCRS? I'm not talking about teachers, I'm talking about county employees are members of TCRS, aren't they?
Counties, yeah,
Police officers.
police officers, yes.
Everybody. Matthew's not eligible for it,
Right.
I'm not eligible for it, Mary's not eligible for it.
Three or not.
So, but several county commissioners are.
Exactly.
We're not. You know, I think that needs to make sure that's clear.
Oh, they do. They actually say, and they will actually, if it passes, if the actuary study passes, then they will reach out to the school board and say, okay, who are we looking at? And they'll say, no, yes, 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 no, no. I mean, they'll give the names of people to look at. So they won't spend time looking at you when you know for sure you're not going to do it. So it will be a specific list.
Questions? Comments? Before we go to the regular agenda, just 2 or 3 additional items. Number one, we're going to be having a potluck lunch here at Central Office on the 20th at 11:30. I'd like to invite all of our board members to come have lunch with us. 11:30 approximately. Come on in for that, please. January board meeting, just something to consider or think about. If we stay with the date of the board, everybody's just coming back to work, and we may not have the agenda ready until the 2nd. If that's okay, then there's no need to look at it. But just where everybody's gonna be out before Christmas in the next week or so, Christy probably won't have everything together. Until we get back together with everybody, then she wouldn't have it out until the 2nd. So if we wanna stay with that 4th as our meeting date, just be patient and know that maybe the 2nd we get the board back. One other item, earlier the board had kind of indicated that we'd like to have a closed safety meeting. I'd like to propose December 18th and see if what everybody's schedule would work with that date. We could start at 4:30 or 5, depending on what everybody's agenda looks like. But if that is the case, we'd be inviting K.C. Allman, who is the new Homeland Security agent for our region. I've talked to him a couple times and had some email correspondence. He's eager to meet everybody and just be open to be a resource for us. But I talked to Sheriff Cassidy, and he's interested in being here as well for that. And then we will be doing some updates from the different departments who really have safety matters. Of course, Angie, Mr. Hubbard, and Justin from transportation would all be here, and Eric as well from the technology standpoint. So would that be okay?
That's a closed meeting, right?
It'll be a closed meeting, so we'll be announcing it to the public that it's closed.
Will Chris McCarty be here?
I can.
Why not say that again?
Chris McCarty.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. I had not added him to our list, but we definitely do.
So did you say 5 or 4:30?
Well, it's the one that's
your
preference.
call, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be across the street in hearing at 1:30, but
Five
so
be better?
5 might be better.
Five, just go by. Okay, I'll send the invite out and I'll contact Mr. McCarty. See if he can do this as well. If there's anybody else you think of, that's all I had down at the time. Mr. Steffi from Transportation, Mr. Hubbard from Maintenance, Ms. Buckles, Eric from Technology, and Casey Allen will be here with Sheriff Cassie and Captain Kilgore, who oversees the SRO officers as well. So we'll have an agenda for that meeting. Okay. I think that'll take us over to the regular board agenda for our review of that. first, thing under the consent agenda, just review those items and, be, prepared to be asked for a vote on consent agenda. Down with communications to the board, of course, we're getting ready to, have schools out for a time period there. The last day of school will be a half day on the 19th of December. Staff will return on the 3rd of January, students will return on the 4th. Central office will be closed after the 22nd until the 27th. And then again, close on New Year's Day, January 1st. And then there'll be several people out during those last days in between. That's why I may not have the agenda ready for the board meeting till the 2nd. I'd like to take the opportunity tonight to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and safe holiday season. We also will be recognizing our elementary, middle, and high school Christmas card art contest winners tonight. I believe we verified that the 3 students, one from each grade span, and their teachers, and their principals were invited as well, so we'll be recognizing them, have a little presentation we'll be doing there. Under unfinished business, things kind of came together on this section, this last week or so. Of course, you may be familiar, Northeast State, Dr. McCord made the announcement recently that they just purchased a big tract of land, and he contacted me. He had said he would get back with me, and he did. And he said at this time he was not going to have interest in moving forward with purchasing the old hosting warehouse. And so with that being said, of course, we're going to need to make a plan on whether we're going to move forward with repairs. I think our insurance carrier is wanting a decision on what we're going to do about that open area of the roof. So the repairs, and then what our plans are for that building and that property going forward. So any conversation or discussion about the old hosting warehouse with this new information.
Thanks a lot, Lee.
There's nothing in there besides, nothing for us, right?
No.
There's old records for county stuff, but there's nothing in there for us, is there? Do we have still equipment or anything in there? Any old?
I think it's language.
There's old stuff out there. Old.
One thought, and Justin Steffi brought this up, he was on the transportation committee. If we do move forward, we're eventually going to have somewhere to house buses. Could that be a piece of property that could be converted to a bus garage, since we have the property? And that was just something to consider.
The original deed calls for it to go back to the heirs of,
If it's not.
if it's not used for education.
Does say that?
I know, I mean, I'm just saying, if we get rid of it, how do we get rid of it? Because I don't think legally you can sell it.
Is that building worth saving at all? I mean, I don't see.
No. It's not worth
I've been in it since it's been damaged, and it's bad.
How many acres are we ever have?
Not much, we got rid of fields. So
I mean-
not much, because we got rid of the ball fields and stuff.
I mean,
so
would
it's
it be enough to?
It'd be enough for the buses, I think.
If that's the
We've got a
case,
big metal building there now for storage, it belongs to us, it's good.
if that's the case, we can,
See, our original thing back in the fall, back in the spring was, I believe, was to get bids on demolishing the place, wasn't it? And-
Then Northeast State,
and
and I
then-
came into
Yeah,
the.
and then before that happened, the roof caved in, and then there's asbestos in part of it, so, you got an issue there.
Didn't the asbestos part, didn't they say they
Wasn't
take
as
that?
bad.
Wasn't as bad, did you want to say it wasn't as bad as what it's not?
Unless you're gonna demolish it, if you're gonna demolish it, then you've got to,
I think it was just in the part that it collapsed, right?
Right.
Where the Davis had,
Yeah.
but.
yeah, that was,
Because they were restricted just to part of collapse, and it wasn't an issue, but if he goes farther, that's an issue, so. there is- I'm not sure how big of an issue, or by the time that money goes up quick on that stuff.
It's a liability the way it is.
It is.
I mean, we need to move in one direction or the other, and I would consider demolishing it and keeping that property in case we need it, and because that would be perfect location for the buses.
Right below
Okay.
Did we have a motion back in the fall before we sent it to purchase and to get bids for demolition and back in the spring? I don't know that we, I think we did, and it became an issue with asbestos after the collapse.
I think we did too, Randall, then I think that's when Amber, there was some conversation with Amber.
Chris Davis and,
I need to go back and look at those minutes.
I'm pretty sure we passed it back, I won't say back in spring, but it could have been early summer. And then these other things happened, and it became an issue of whether or not we could actually get rid of it. Didn't hurt to revote it though, and just vote to demolish it, would it? Well, what we have to do is vote to get bids on demolition, and I think part of that had to do with what you put in the criteria that you write up as far as asbestos and so forth. Just try to go bigger than that.
Yeah, I know that, there are some ideas in it, so that's fine, I can't not tell you something happened the other day. So, at one of the last county commission meetings, there is a group that's looking, and they approached me about that building. And what they're looking at is we don't know about the location, but it's a processing plant, basically for meat processing. And they said that they would open it up to education environments and maybe even like a CTE kind of thing and options. So they said they would be interested in that building if it's something that we were interested in getting rid of. So I couldn't not tell you because they told me it's not fair for me to be the only one to know that. But at the same time, it is something that they were interested in, that building. And I was like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. And they said, well, that would be fantastic for all of their opportunities or what they want to do.
They see the building then?
We can't give it.
They approached me.
We can't, it's needed, right?
Well, but that was the one thing I was wondering.
Right, I mean,
Because they say it will be education opportunities. Is that?
When this first came up for discussion about 2 years ago, Pat Hull presented all the surplus properties to us, and we discussed that, and then once the article went in the paper, there was at least one heir who contacted Pat to talk about, they were about 7 steps removed from where the term might be, but I mean, they were gonna file a claim, and if we sell it, it'll be another expense.
We voted, and then we ran into that and kind of stopped.
Yes. That was, Pat's recommendation was, we can't sell it.
And I'm perfectly fine with that, but I just wanted to be able to float it here and see what the board's, thoughts are. Because if it's a hard no, that's fine. I just want to let them know to move on.
You give it back to the heirs, do they have to take responsibility for the asbestos in that building and everything? I mean,
And I don't know the process for the heirs taking control of it. I mean, it's a legal process.
You'd have to be sure that it was the only heir, and somebody else would make a claim later. So
I think my recommendation would be to give it to Northeast State, and tell them that there's no charge for it, and then the state's in education, and let them decide. Not sell it to them, but just give it to them.
we're gonna have a place to stage buses and do maintenance. And we're gonna,
store.
where are we gonna, what property would we use? I mean, acre's not a good location.
No. They go through a subdivision to get there.
So, I mean, that's really the last best location we have left.
I'd like to know what it costs to have it moved there.
What's that?
I'd like to know the cost.
Well, it's gonna be expensive. I mean, I was throwing a number out there, but I wouldn't want to set it, to get somebody something to think about, but I got an idea of what it costs.
I do too.
That's your cost too, but it's got to be done, or we have a liability with the setting out the way it is.
Well, and
We can't just keep waiting till something happens and we'll have both expenses.
like I said, the insurance company now is asking what do you do?
what's next? Get the bids?
The next step would be get the board to pass a motion tonight to ask for bids on it.
I thought we already done that.
Well, I think we did too, but I think when it got
Let's
kicked back
clarify.
to us, when it got kicked back to us, that kind of killed it.
Get a vote tonight on
Bids for
getting
demolition.
bids for demolition.
Which would include asbestos and all the removal and all the.
Asbestos was the issue, if I remember correctly.
We are ready to clear the surface.
If you're not clear, they'll leave that concrete.
No, I'm not sure.
Might be okay for our
Because we got that
purposes.
little building there and that.
Oh, yeah.
We were just looking at trying to get rid of that part. For insurance purposes, no reason. Right, we've got the metal building full, I think. That's right.
What's in that thing?
Carpet, paint, you just.
All kinds of
Filters.
supplies.
What he said.
Our filters, filters, yeah.
We can move it somewhere if we need to.
He really likes that building, but it was, he had to move it.
Yeah, I think that was the thing, he said he had to find somewhere to put the building.
Which he could go over to eight.
What's the height in that building?
It looks like it's probably 20 feet high.
That's what I'm saying, it's probably-
So it would work if we need to use it
Yes,
for garage.
I think so. I don't know about getting in and out of it, but
Yeah,
it,
make it- Is it metal? Yeah. We can put doors in it like this.
All right, moving on to D, with the Henry Har Road property, also got some progress made there. I reported to you that Mr. Taylor was looking into what he would have to do some major reconstruction, tearing down the buildings. Just the same, he contacted us and said that he was going to withdraw his interest in doing a land swap, so, we're back at the point of, do we want to reopen the bid, do the auction again? And we can contact those interested parties that reached out to us after the bid was over to say, hey, we're gonna open it back up and be open to anybody in the public. Is that the next logical step there? And back up on bid after the first of the year? Is that going to require a vote? Yes. A little bit of vote.
Would that be a better location for that?
Say it again.
Would that be a better location for that bus facility?
Which location?
On
Henry Har Road.
it's not enough, I don't think.
No. You talking back on that backside?
It's like 2 acres.
Yeah, but it's, have you been on the beach? It's
I mean,
a
it's
lot
got
of
the
rock,
creek behind it.
limited waves. I thought about that. That's.
And just a
Runs
thought,
it-
is
kind
what
of
it is.
runs it back into the creek, which would be a problem with EPA and drainage. But I thought about that, but I don't think that would work for that. It would work good for a fire station.
Let's get on to
That is, we'll pass on that one.
And then letter C, our last conversation on the Sullivan Gardens property, of course, we do have a party interested in that building. How that would end up, if we move that direction, still to be determined. But I think what we, a 3-step process, we talked about, Dr. Rouse was interested, make sure nobody in our schools was interested in that property. Dr. Palmer's addressed that. Got a few items
Yes, sir. Signs, tables, and a kiln.
that are of interest, and so those will be gone. So then step 2 was, Mr. Iverson had contacted the representatives from Stockton and Virginia, and they were interested in some of that. So we would surplus that, and it would go there. If you want to coordinate that, or what?
I just want to explore the avenue. I mean, the process now is the process. I mean, if it's something that they want, I mean, I thought it was good for them to come by and say, look at it. So they looked at it, they walked through the entire building, and they said, yes, this is some really great stuff. So sometimes, stuff that you're not gonna use in somebody else's treasure, and that's exactly what that turned out to be. So I don't know how many desks, or how many chairs, or how many tables, but it seemed like they were interested in quite a bit of the things that we have there. So I don't know how we can do that, but I guess Chris Davis told us that because they're a Snutter School department, across the state lines doesn't matter. we can allow them to have that and not have any trouble with far as how it was bought. So that was a little bit of things with that. So, in the past, we had talked about that. I know that Evelyn had reached out to every one of the surrounding systems, and that was Chris Davis's idea. How about looking across the state line and see if they would like it? So, I would just think it's something, if we're not gonna use that stuff, it gets it out of our way. And I would love to have somebody actually using it, so if they're willing to come and get it. And that was one thing Charlie talked about. He said, if you put it on the Gov Deals and it sells 20 desks, well, now I have to have somebody go there and stay there while they do it, and if they don't show up, then I'm spending hours and hours of time going back and forth. They were wanting, his hope was, the director from Scott County, his hope was, if there's any way of being able to get this done in a relatively fast manner, so that over the holiday breaks, they might be able to have some of their people come and start looking at this stuff. So I don't know what the board's favor would be, if it's something that they'd be interested to do, but it just seemed like it would help them out, but I'm not sure if we're ready for that.
I mean, let's get rid of that. My thoughts. It's been sitting there, that we've not done nothing with it, so we can get rid of it tomorrow. Let's get rid of it.
Extra equipment and Sullivan, starting the middle school will be our surplus. And that will take care of
Yeah.
whatever's there.
Because we don't need any more.
How is that, all non-attached? Non-attached. And anybody that wanted something, they've already taken it, right, Brent?
Yes, sir.
So everything that's there is really surplus, and there's no way to itemize what's there, but you can itemize what they take.
Right.
But,
We kind of mentioned that in joking. I was like, well, maybe have a sheet that, oh, look, we took 20 desks in this trip, and we took 15 tables now, so I don't know what we do, but it seems like it'd be a reasonable.
there's a lot of stuff there,
Yeah, yeah.
old stuff.
It's gonna have to go at some point, somewhere.
And then you might want to check with Chris and make sure that would,
If
if we approve it tonight, and check with her, make sure that would cover us, but I think that's the way it's normally covered.
So we have to declare surplus tonight?
That's what I would think. All non-attached, that's worth a shot anyway.
And then after that is taking place, then the board can decide about what lease or sell or what the option is. To go back to the party that is interested with that, whatever offer we can, or if we're interested.
In the minutes, Dr. Rouse pointed out from her notes, and I looked it up, we did pass a motion on June 5th to declare the old Holston property as surplus and pursue options for demolition of the main building.
So we're out there, we like pass it.
So we just have to go back to Chris Davis.
Right.
Say we're
Ready to.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we don't hurt it, nothing, no hosting,
no vote on those. Thank you.
Well, thank Dr. Rouse.
She brought her folder, we knew she'd find it.
Under new business, we do have a recommendation from TSBA on this interscholastic athletics. You've got the policy in your packet there, and it's online as well. Be asking for waiver of rules and adoption on first reading on that. Amber, would you like to speak to the mid-year CV election?
Yes, so
That's
I'll start
exciting news.
and give you some background information to kind of explain how I'm able to present to you CEP mid-year. So what has kind of changed is the USDA lowered the identified student percentage, which I'll refer to as ISP, Previously, it had to be 40, so that is our direct cert students. That is our SNAP, TANF, and addition this year is Medicaid and Teen Care. So previously, that percentage had to be 40 for a school to even be eligible for CEP. Prior to school starting and right around August, September, it was approved to lower that to 25%. Because that was approved at the federal level, they are allowing school districts to now add schools for CEP beginning January 1st. So that lower percentage benefits us in that we can now add schools mid-year if we choose to. So the good news is all of our schools are at 40% or higher. So what I'm presenting tonight is district-wide CEP beginning January 1st.
Just for anybody who may not know, CEP,
It's community eligibility provision is what that stands for, but that would mean all of our students district-wide would receive free breakfast and lunch. And so the CEP cycle is base year and then 3 years after that. So basically this would be our base year, so we kind of lose half a year of our base year. But the good thing about it is if our numbers increase over the next couple of years, I can just renew that and we extend those years. So say in April, because typically we pull data April 1st. For this, we're pulling data October 31st. So say April 1st, our numbers look better. I can present this to you again at the beginning of the school year and we start over. And so we can continue to look at that. Now the flip side of that is maybe 2 years from now, it's not looking good and beneficial to be CP. I may come to you and say, this is no longer beneficial, we may need to fall off. So that is the dark side of it, but the plus side is we could continue on indefinitely as long as the numbers work in our favor.
thank you, Amber. Under C, budget amendments, just a group of just transferring funds from one line item to another. Letters A through H are all just budget amendments. You have copies of each of those as well. And that would get us to the end of the agenda. Any comments or questions about any point as we went through that?
We will not have much of a discussion on the budget tonight. We did not get to have our meeting. We'll try to do that before next month and come prepared with some more detail. I mean, I have a lot of detail that we haven't met as a committee yet, so we'll do that. I'll try to get a date that works for everybody's time. And when I do get that date, I'll send it to everyone on the board. Everybody's welcome if you're available.
One quick question on the policy on athletics, is that from TSBA?
TSBA.
Okay, is that just with revisions to the state?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the law.
Alright.
Anything else?
Yeah, we got something for you. On behalf of the board, Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Anybody else anything? We're not
You need
yet.
to open your door.
Okay.
My goodness.
My whole program.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you. Thank you.
They got a committee.
Yeah.
Is that Jillian Woodford? Well, I guess.
Thank you very much. Thank everyone.
Very well.
I don't think
Oh, my goodness.
I don't think they're gonna pay for it.
Y'all know what I like to do.
Well, that would be the most logical one.
Oh, thank you.
More logical. You have that projection, I know you just do that.
Some of those people really thought they all know this.
No, they're really not that bad, that's, if you go look at all the coverages, but that's basically one
Individually, what you want.
it turns out there aren't really any strings.
I think it has to do with certain things that make you do that.